Now let's continue to get analysis on our leading story. Now, the head of the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services, retired Justice Edwin Cameron, says he believes the G4S security company has suffered a total breakdown in operational and oversight functions at the Mangaung Correctional Facility. Cameron appeared before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services last week on the activities leading up to and after convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester's escape from the facility last year in May at the Mangaung Correctional Centre. Now, Bafana Khumalo, Co-Executive Director of Sonke, Gender Justice and Co-Chairperson of Global MenEngage Alliance, joins me now. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, sir. Of course, concerns were raised, by parliamentarians about how the police did not find it crucial to inform both Bester's victims as well as the South African public that a dangerous convicted criminal and rapist and murderer had escaped. Your reaction just about the so-called cover-up, and how that could have endangered women further and further traumatized his victims.
This was quite shocking, Unati, to listen to the Minister of Police making the aversion that they kept this matter out of the public eye because they did not want to jeopardize their investigations. Tacitly, he was admitting that they preferred to protect their investigation at the expense of the victims of Thabo Bester and other women who potentially could have been victims. We still don't know. This man has been out of prison for almost a year. It's very likely that we may get other cases that involve him. And this is a major, I think, dereliction of duty by the state in this regard. And I agree with Justice Cameron in this regard.
Now, we saw, of course, the court case this morning, the three accused, including Bester's girlfriend, Dr. Makudumana, were remanded in custody today. Of course, we know that, her father has been released on bail, and subsequently to that, charges of murder against him have now been dropped. Now, let's talk about Dr. Nandipa. A lot of people are very conflicted in terms of where to place her. Is she a victim, given what we know about the manipulative characteristics of Bester? Some say she could very well be an accomplice or a partner in crime. How do you read the situation as it relates to Dr. Makudumana?
I think it's a very complex matter, Unati. I wouldn't like to make a quick judgment on this. Current evidence does show that she was a willing participant. How willing, I think, will be a case that needs to be proven in court as all the evidence is brought to the light of a court investigation. But it is a troubling circumstance. I know there's been video clips doing the rounds with some people suggesting it may be a Stockholm syndrome phenomenon. I'd rather we wait for the matter to be ventilated properly after proper investigation, so that we are able to make an informed judgment. We still have not heard her, giving her side of the story as to her involvement and the reasons for her involvement in this regard. And I think it's only prudent that we allow the process to unfold. It is, of course, worrying, Unati, that there's more investigative stories that are emerging, that there's been some fraternization with Thabo Bester in hotels, in Bloemfontein, and possibly other places as well. That still needs to be, confirmed through the investigations, but it is troubling.
Another thing, of course, that is troubling, both G4S and the SAPS were grilled by the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services not too long ago. Fundamentally, they were concerned about just how a convicted rapist and murderer who lured women via Facebook could own a laptop that could possibly have been used to victimize more women. How concerned are you about just some of the things that we are hearing in this case, that a lot of people are now coming out to say that this is a problem across many prisons in this country?
I think it's a major concern. I was not impressed at all with the presentation by G4S, because for a public, a private rather institution that profiles itself as providing professional service, that is supposed to set a model for how our prisons should be run, I think they've performed very bad. And I was worried by Justice Cameron's sentiments that they clearly were not forthcoming with information, almost denying at every turn that it was Bester who has escaped, and insisting that the person that was in the cell was actually Thabo Bester. And they are complicit, in this matter. And as we know now, many of the people that are involved in these shenanigans are the staff that belong to this agency, which we are paying billions of dollars, of rands, for them to maintain a proper functioning establishment. So I do think that really the Minister of Justice needs to review whether this contract with G4S is worth the money that we are paying as taxpayers, because there's lots of rot that is emerging almost on a daily basis on the shenanigans that are happening in this prison that they are managing. And it's something that is quite concerning. And it is concerning for the police as well. When they were asked questions in the parliamentary process last week, the evasiveness of responding to some of the questions was quite concerning. Some of the senior officials were struggling to answer very basic questions to matters that are protocols in regards to police establishments. That raises a lot of questions about, are our police fit for purpose? Are they trained properly? Do they follow processes, even the laws and protocols that are established by their own department? What gives women in this country confidence after watching the performance last week in Parliament that they are safe with the police establishment that we have in this country? I think many of us were left worried after the public hearings last week.
Mr. Khumalo, just before I let you go, of course, another fundamental question that has come out, and one that I asked our previous guest, is that, this is obviously going to raise another possible impact in terms of, the public faith in the criminal justice system. Of course, you said it to yourself, South Africans very keen to see the outcome of this case. As an organization yourself, you've been very concerned about developments that have affected several cases negatively, including the Hillary Gardi case. Just talk to us about just the possible impact that this case has on the public's faith in the criminal justice system.
We all know, Unathi, that the number of cases that get to court are just a minuscule of the cases that are out there, because many citizens simply don't have faith in the system. There are many women who will tell you that even if I've gone through, this atrocious and heinous crime against myself, I will not go to the police because there's simply no trust in the system. But it seems to me it's a much bigger problem than just the police. It's the value chain of the criminal justice system. In the Hillary Gardi case, we had 4 men that were put in jail for months on end. We were told there's a strong case, it's solid. Suddenly they are let off and we are told it's provisional withdrawal. Really, why do you go to court when you are not sure of your facts and ensure that your investigations have been done and done properly? This kind of behavior cannot send confidence to the South African public. There's a lot that I think that the whole criminal justice case system in this country must really stand up for scrutiny so that they look at themselves, whether they are fit for purpose and they are able to do what the taxpayers are providing lots of money for them to do the functions that they should be doing. It really is an indictment against the criminal justice system that we continue to see these lapses in these cases. The Thabo Bester case that we are talking about, people thought we are safe. This man is under lock and key. He's been tried. He's been put in prison. only to learn that almost a year, this man has been actually parading outside. Now, how is that even possible? You know, if it was not for some interventions, for somebody asking for a DNA and stopping the body that was found in the cell from being obviously incinerated so that we destroy the evidence, we would not know better as we sit here today. We would still think Thabo Bester is locked under, he died in a cell. Meanwhile, he would be gallivanting and possibly doing further criminal activities. Now, there's a big challenge about the criminal justice system that requires urgent attention.
All right.
And the state has a responsibility to make sure that they do good, because this is the commitment that they've made to the South African public.
Mr. Khumalo, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. Mr. Bafana Khumalo, the Co-Executive Director of Sonke, Gender, Justice and Co-Chairperson of the Global MenEngage Alliance.